Commander Maya Reeves hadn't expected to find anything unusual during her routine patrol of the mountain perimeter. The military outpost was remote for a reason, to conduct experiments away from civilian eyes. Yet here she was, staring at a crashed vessel unlike anything human engineering could create, steam rising from its metallic hull as rain pattered against the scorched earth around it. "Base, this is Reeves. I've got something you need to see," she said into her comm, her free hand resting on her sidearm. The response was immediate static. The mountains always interfered with signals during storms. Lightning flashed, illuminating the scene in stark white for a moment. That's when she saw movement. Something was emerging from the wreckage. Maya raised her weapon, military training taking over. "Stop right there." The figure froze. It was humanoid but clearly not human, tall with iridescent skin that seemed to shift between deep purple and midnight blue. Its eyes were large, reflecting the flashlight beam like polished obsidian. "I mean no harm," the creature spoke, its voice melodic but strained. It was holding its side, where a dark liquid seeped between slender fingers. "What are you?" Maya demanded, keeping her distance. "My name is Keldra. I am a scout from the Viridian Collective." The alien's knees buckled, and she, fell forward. Against her better judgment, Maya rushed forward, catching Keldra before she hit the ground. The alien's skin was warm, almost feverish to the touch. "Why are you here?" Maya asked, helping the alien sit against the crashed ship. "Not invasion. Escape." Keldra's breathing was labored. "My people, they're coming. I had to warn yours." Maya's training told her to wait for backup, to secure the alien and report immediately. But something in Keldra's eyes, fear, desperation, something profoundly recognizable despite the alien features, made her pause. "You're injured. Let me help you," Maya said, retrieving the medkit from her pack. "Your medicines won't work on me," Keldra warned, but her voice was weakening. "Maybe not, but pressure on a wound works for most species, I'd wager." Maya applied a compression bandage to Keldra's side. "Can you walk? We need to get out of here before my people or yours arrive." Keldra looked at her with confusion. "You would help me? Why?" Maya wasn't entirely sure herself. "Let's just say I've never been good at following protocols that don't make sense. And leaving someone to die, human or not, doesn't make sense to me." With effort, they made it to Maya's jeep. The rain was coming down harder now, washing away their tracks. Maya's cabin was an hour away, off-grid, no surveillance. It wasn't the first time her preference for privacy would prove useful, but it was certainly the most consequential. As she drove through the storm, Maya kept glancing at her passenger. Keldra's eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. The alien was a fugitive by her own admission. Maya was harboring her, breaking every security protocol in existence. "I hope I don't regret this," she muttered. Keldra's eyes fluttered open. "If it helps, Commander, so do I." The cabin came into view as the storm began to subside. It was simple but secure: solar panels, rainwater collection, wood stove. Maya had built it as a sanctuary from the world. Now it would be sanctuary for something from beyond it. As she helped Keldra inside, Maya knew her life had irreversibly changed. Whatever came next, whatever Keldra was running from, whatever was coming for Earth, she was now part of it. "Rest," Maya told the alien, helping her onto the couch. "Tomorrow, you're going to tell me everything." Keldra nodded weakly. "Thank you for your compassion. It is unexpected." "Yeah, well, don't thank me yet," Maya replied, setting water to boil on the stove. "Compassion might be in short supply once I know what I've gotten myself into." But as she watched the alien drift into an exhausted sleep, Maya felt something unexpected stir within her, not fear or suspicion, but a profound curiosity and an inexplicable certainty that helping Keldra was the right thing to do. The storm outside had passed, but Maya sensed a greater one was just beginning. Morning light filtered through the cabin windows as Maya prepared a simple breakfast. She hadn't slept much, constantly checking on her unexpected guest. Keldra now sat upright on the couch, examining the bandage on her side with curious fingers. "Your medical technology is primitive," Keldra observed, "but effective." Maya placed a mug of steaming coffee on the table. "You promised me answers. Let's start with why you're running from your own people." Keldra's iridescent skin rippled with emotion. "The Viridian Collective was once peaceful. We explored, we learned, we grew. But resources in our system began to dwindle. The Council became desperate." She looked directly at Maya. Earth was identified as a compatible planet for colonization. Maya's hand tightened around her own mug. "You mean invasion?" "Yes," Keldra admitted. "The plan was to assess Earth's defenses, then deploy atmospheric converters that would gradually alter your environment to better suit our biology while making it challenging for humans." "You mean it would kill us," Maya said flatly. Keldra nodded solemnly. "Most of you, yes. The Council deemed it more efficient than direct conflict. And you were okay with this?" Maya felt anger rising in her chest. "I was a loyal scout," Keldra said, her voice low with shame. "Until I spent time studying your world. Your art, your music, your resilience. Your capacity for both destruction and compassion." Her eyes met Maya's. "I saw my people's reflection in yours. I couldn't be part of your extinction." Maya paced the small cabin. "So you stole a scout ship and came to warn us?" "The Council would never believe one human's warning. I came to gather evidence of your civilization's value, to present a case for coexistence rather than conquest." "And now they're hunting you," Maya concluded. "Yes. Desertion is punishable by death in the Collective. I am considered a traitor." Keldra's voice remained steady, but Maya caught the tremor in her hands. Maya sat across from the alien, studying her. There was something profoundly brave about what Keldra had done, risking everything for a species not her own, based solely on principle. "Why should I believe you?" Maya asked. "This could be an elaborate trap." Keldra reached into a hidden pocket in her garment and extracted a small crystal. "This contains the Council's plans. Deployment schedules, converter specifications. It's encrypted, but your scientists might decipher enough to prepare countermeasures." Maya took the crystal, turning it over in her palm. It hummed faintly, warm to the touch. "If your people are as advanced as you say, what chance do we have?" "Your species has something mine has forgotten," Keldra said. "Adaptability. Creativity when faced with impossible odds. The Council's analysis underestimates this." Outside, the wind picked up, branches scraping against the cabin walls. Both women fell silent, listening. "How much time do we have?" Maya finally asked. "The advance fleet was 3 lunar cycles behind my departure. Perhaps 2 of your weeks remain." Keldra's expression was grim. "But once they discover I've crashed here, they may accelerate their timeline." Maya stood, decision made. "I need to contact my superiors. They won't believe me without proof." "They will detain me," Keldra said. It wasn't a question. "Probably," Maya admitted. "But if what you're saying is true, we need to prepare. And you're our best asset." Keldra nodded. "I understand. I accepted this fate when I chose to warn your world." Maya gathered her equipment, mind racing through protocols and contingencies. Who would believe her? Who would need convincing? Which of her superiors would see the alien as a threat versus an opportunity? As she prepared to leave, Keldra spoke again. Commander Reeves, there is something else you should know. Her voice had taken on an urgency that made Maya pause. The Council has another reason for choosing Earth. What's that? Your species and mine share a genetic marker thought impossible across independent evolutions. The Council believes our species crossed paths before, perhaps millennia ago. Keldra's eyes glowed with intensity. We may be more connected than either of our worlds realizes. Maya absorbed this information, its implications staggering. All the more reason to find a way through this that doesn't end in either of our extinctions. As they left the cabin, Maya noticed how Keldra tilted her face toward the sun, eyes closed for a moment in simple appreciation of its warmth. The gesture was so fundamentally human that Maya felt something shift in her perception. For what it's worth, Maya said, I believe you. Keldra's lips curved in a smile too familiar to be truly alien. In my culture, trust freely given is the most valuable currency. I will not waste yours, Commander. They drove down the mountain in silence, each woman contemplating the enormity of what lay ahead. Maya glanced at her passenger, this fugitive from the stars who had risked everything to save a world not her own. Whatever happened next, Maya knew humanity's understanding of its place in the universe was about to fundamentally change. And somehow, against all logic and training, she trusted the alien beside her to face it together. The military facility buzzed with controlled chaos. Maya watched through one-way glass as scientists examined Keldra, who submitted to their tests with dignified patience. 3 days had passed since Maya had brought the alien in, and the highest levels of government were now involved. General Harlow approached, his weathered face set in stern lines. Your alien has caused quite the stir, Commander Reeves. She's not my alien, sir, Maya replied. And she came here to help us. So you keep saying. Harlow handed her a tablet displaying satellite imagery. We've detected several objects decelerating at the edge of our solar system. Either your friend is telling the truth, or this is the most elaborate first contact scenario imaginable. Maya studied the images, her mouth dry. Have we made progress with the crystal? Some. The encryption is unlike anything we've seen, but Dr. Patel has managed to extract fragments. Harlow's expression grew grimmer. What we found confirms Keldra's story. These atmospheric converters would essentially terraform Earth while we're still on it. A chill ran down Maya's spine. Then we need to prepare. The President has authorized defensive measures, but realistically, Commander, if these aliens have mastered interstellar travel, our options are limited. The door to the observation room swung open, and Dr. Patel entered, excitement visible despite her exhaustion. General, Commander, we've had a breakthrough with communication. The objects at the edge of our system are broadcasting. They followed her to the communications center, where technicians worked frantically at terminals. A strange sequence of sounds and light patterns played across the main screen. It's directed at Keldra's crashed ship, Dr. Patel explained. We're using algorithms based on her language patterns to decode it. Suddenly, the patterns coalesced into words on the screen. Scout Vessel KV-7, respond. Declare status. Advance fleet approaching. Prepare for extraction or face consequences of desertion. Maya exchanged glances with Harlow. They don't know she's with us. This could be an advantage, the general mused. Or it could make things worse when they discover we're harboring their deserter, Maya countered. We need to respond, Dr. Patel insisted. They'll know something's wrong if the ship remains silent. Harlow nodded grimly. Bring the alien here. When Keldra entered, her eyes immediately fixed on the message. Something like fear crossed her features before she composed herself. Those are my commanders, she confirmed. They believe I'm still loyal, just unable to communicate. What happens when they arrive and discover otherwise? Harlow demanded. They will assume you've captured me. They will demand my return. Keldra's voice remained steady. Then they will proceed with their mission regardless. Unless we convince them otherwise, Maya suggested. All eyes turned to her. She continued, what if we respond? Not pretending to be Keldra, but as humanity. Make first contact on our terms. That's incredibly risky, Dr. Patel warned. So is waiting for them to realize their scout has betrayed them, Maya argued. This way, we control the narrative. After hours of debate, a message was crafted, diplomatic yet firm, informing the Viridian fleet that Earth was aware of their approach and intentions, that Keldra was under Earth's protection, and proposing dialogue instead of conflict. The response came faster than anyone anticipated. Surrender the deserter. Prepare for our arrival. Resistance is inadvisable. Well, they're certainly direct, Harlow remarked dryly. Keldra stepped forward. Let me speak to them. Directly. Absolutely not, Harlow objected. You could warn them of our defenses, our weaknesses. Or I could appeal to those who might share my doubts, Keldra interrupted. The Council's decision wasn't unanimous. There are factions who believe as I do. Maya studied her alien ally. You never mentioned this before. Because hope is dangerous when survival is uncertain, Keldra replied softly. But now we need every advantage. After more heated debate, a compromise was reached. Keldra would communicate with her people, but from a secure facility with every word monitored and the transmission location obscured. The alien stood before the communication array, her iridescent skin reflecting the equipment lights. When she spoke, it was in her native tongue, musical, complex, occasionally punctuated by gestures that seemed part of the language itself. The response was immediate and harsh, even without translation, the anger was palpable. Keldra continued undeterred, her voice rising with conviction. Suddenly, the transmission cut off. What happened? Maya demanded. They terminated the connection, Dr. Patel reported. But not before broadcasting to their entire fleet. Keldra turned to them, her expression unreadable. I told them everything. About Earth's beauty and diversity. About finding you, Commander, and your compassion. About the genetic markers our species share. I challenged them to remember who we once were before fear drove us to conquest. And? Harlow pressed. And now we wait, Keldra said simply. I've sown seeds of doubt. Whether they take root depends on how many of my people still remember our true values. The waiting was excruciating. Hours stretched into a day with no response. Military forces worldwide were on high alert, experimental defenses primed for the approaching fleet. Maya found Keldra alone in her secured quarters, gazing at the night sky through a small window. I never asked what happens to you if your people abandon their plans, Maya said. Would they take you back? No, Keldra answered without turning. My fate was sealed when I stole that scout ship. Then why do this? Why risk everything for us? Keldra finally looked at her, eyes reflecting starlight. Because principles without action are meaningless. Because your world deserves its chance to reach its potential. Because somewhere in our shared past, our peoples were connected, and I believe we're meant to find that connection again. Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed to the command center to find screens filled with incoming data. The fleet has accelerated, Dr. Patel reported, voice tight with tension. Multiple vessels entering Earth's atmosphere in less than an hour. Harlow issued rapid orders, coordinating global defenses, but the sense of futility was palpable. Their weapons were unlikely to stop a civilization capable of crossing interstellar space. They're broadcasting again, a technician announced. The message appeared on screen, this time in perfect English. To the inhabitants of Earth and the deserter Keldra, we will arrive at your military installation coordinates to deliver our decision personally. Any aggressive action will be met with immediate consequence. Prepare to receive the Council's ultimatum. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Viridian Collective knew exactly where they were. Earth's defenses were exposed before they could even be deployed. They're coming here, Maya realized aloud. Not to attack, at least not yet, but to talk. Or to deliver terms of surrender, Harlow countered grimly. Keldra stepped forward, her posture straightening with newfound resolve. Then we must be ready to speak for both our worlds. She turned to Maya. Together. As the countdown to the aliens' arrival ticked away, Maya felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down upon her. Whatever happened when the Viridian Council landed, Earth would never be the same again. And neither would she. The landing site was a dried lake bed 5 miles from the military facility. A perimeter of armed forces surrounded the area, their weapons a futile gesture of defiance against the approaching alien craft. Maya stood beside Keldra at the designated meeting point, both women silent as they watched the sky. They're coming, Keldra said, her eyes tracking something invisible to human perception. Moments later, the air rippled and distorted. A vessel materialized, sleek, organic in design, pulsing with energy that made the hair on Maya's arms stand on end. It descended without sound, settling on the cracked earth with impossible delicacy. The Council rarely leaves our homeworld, Keldra murmured. This is unprecedented. Maya glanced at her. Good sign or bad? Unknown. A seam appeared in the vessel's side, widening into an entrance. 3 figures emerged, taller than Keldra, their skin ranging from deep violet to a blue so dark it appeared black. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic in their grace. Keldra straightened, head held high despite the visible tension in her shoulders. The tallest of the 3 aliens approached, stopping several paces away. When it spoke, its voice resonated at multiple frequencies simultaneously. Scout Keldra, your transmission caused significant discord among our people. The alien's gaze shifted to Maya. This is the human who sheltered you? Commander Maya Reeves, Keldra confirmed. Who proved everything I claimed about humanity's potential. The alien studied Maya with unnerving intensity. I am High Counselor Trevik. Your species has developed remarkably since our ancestors last observed this world. Maya maintained her composure. You've been here before? Long ago. Before your recorded history. Trevik gestured toward the sky. The genetic markers Keldra discovered confirm what some have long suspected, our evolution was influenced by the same architects. We didn't come for a history lesson, interrupted one of the other aliens, their skin rippling with impatience. The Council's decision stands. Earth's resources are vital to our survival. And what about our survival? Maya challenged. Regrettable but necessary, the impatient alien replied coldly. Trevik raised a hand for silence. Counselor Myra's position is shared by many. But not all. The High Counselor turned to Keldra. Your broadcast resonated with those who believe conquest violates our oldest principles. Hope flickered across Keldra's face. Then there's a chance for coexistence? Perhaps. Trevik produced a device that projected a holographic display of Earth. But sentiment alone cannot feed our people or fuel our civilization. We require the resources this planet holds. Maya stepped forward. What if we could help each other? Share resources rather than take them? The third alien, who had remained silent, finally spoke. Impossible. Your technology is primitive. But advancing rapidly, Maya countered. And we understand Earth's ecosystem in ways you can't. We've made countless mistakes managing our resources, mistakes you could learn from rather than repeat. Furthermore, Keldra added, humans possess qualities our civilization has diminished: adaptability, creativity, resilience against impossible odds. Trevek considered this. You propose an alliance rather than subjugation. Yes, Maya replied firmly. One that benefits both our species. The council members exchanged looks, communicating in subtle gestures and expressions Maya couldn't interpret. Finally, Trevek spoke again. The council remains divided. But recent discoveries have granted your proposal consideration. The High Counselor extended a hand, palm up, revealing a small orb. This contains data from our deep space observatories. A threat approaches that concerns both our worlds. The orb projected images of massive objects moving through distant space. Another civilization with technology surpassing even ours. Their path of expansion leaves no survivors. Maya exchanged a glance with Keldra, understanding dawning between them. You need allies as much as resources. The collective has existed in isolation for millennia, Trevek acknowledged. We have forgotten how to form alliances. How to trust. We're not exactly experts ourselves, Maya admitted. But necessity is a powerful teacher. Indeed. Trevek stepped closer. We propose a trial period. Knowledge exchange rather than immediate colonization. If mutual benefit can be demonstrated, the Council will reconsider Earth's designation. The impatient counselor, Mira, hissed in disagreement but remained silent when Trevek raised a hand. And if we refuse? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Then we proceed as planned, Trevek stated simply. Your defenses cannot stop us. Maya glanced at the military forces standing ready, at the skies where she knew more alien vessels waited. Then at Keldra, whose eyes held both fear and hope. We would need guarantees, Maya said. And involvement from our world's governments, not just military. Reasonable, Trevek agreed. We will allow 7 of your days for consultation. During this time, a delegation will remain to begin preliminary exchange. And Keldra? Maya asked. What happens to her? Trevek regarded the deserter with an unreadable expression. Scout Keldra committed our highest crime by abandoning her mission. But in doing so, she may have discovered a path that serves the collective's true interests. The High Counselor turned back to Maya. Her fate will depend on the outcome of our negotiations. The terms were set. A delegation of Viridian scientists would remain on Earth, while human representatives would begin the overwhelming task of establishing communication protocols with a species that could either become humanity's greatest ally or its executioner. As the council members returned to their vessel, Keldra spoke softly to Maya. You realize what just happened, don't you? We got a reprieve, not a resolution, Maya replied. More than that. Keldra's expression was intense. High Counselor Trevek could have simply taken what the collective needs. Instead, they're considering cooperation. That hasn't happened in countless generations. You think we actually have a chance? I think we created one where none existed before. Keldra's hand briefly touched Maya's, the first physical contact she had initiated since they met. Your willingness to help a stranger, an alien, despite every reason for suspicion, that's the quality that might save both our species. As they walked back toward the facility, the weight of what lay ahead pressed on Maya's shoulders. The negotiations would be fraught with challenges, misunderstandings, and resistance from both sides. Trust would need to be built piece by painstaking piece. Yet something fundamental had shifted. Where before there had been only the threat of extinction, now there existed possibility, fragile, untested, but real. 7 days to convince my people that aliens aren't a threat. After spending decades making movies about alien invasions, Maya remarked dryly. Should be interesting. 7 days to convince my people that cooperation isn't weakness, Keldra countered with the first genuine smile Maya had seen from her. Perhaps we're not so different after all. Behind them, the alien vessel lifted silently into the sky, a physical reminder of how small Earth had suddenly become in a much larger, more complex universe. And ahead of them lay the monumental task of forging an alliance that neither world had imagined possible just days before. The global summit convened in Geneva was unlike any gathering in human history. Representatives from every nation sat alongside the Viridian delegation, the unprecedented meeting broadcast to billions worldwide. After 7 days of intense negotiations that stretched into weeks, today would determine the future of both species. Maya stood at the edge of the chamber, watching Keldra confer with High Counselor Trevik. The past month had transformed the alien deserter into humanity's most valuable diplomat, bridging cultural gaps that might otherwise have proved insurmountable. Nervous? General Harlow appeared beside her, his expression less stern than it had been weeks ago. Terrified, Maya admitted. Everything hinges on what happens today. Not everything, Harlow corrected. The scientific exchange has already yielded breakthroughs. Medical applications from their biological knowledge alone could transform healthcare within years. If the Council accepts the alliance proposal, Maya reminded him. They'd be fools not to. Harlow studied the Viridian delegates. Their deep space observations weren't exaggerated. This approaching civilization, the Korathi, have decimated every system in their path. Together, we at least have a fighting chance. The chamber quieted as the Secretary-General stepped to the podium. We stand at a crossroads not just for Earth, but for two civilizations that until recently were unknown to each other. Today, we present the framework for the first interstellar alliance in human history. The proposed treaty was deceptively simple in principle. Earth would provide biological resources and cultural exchange, while the Viridians would share technology and help prepare both worlds for the approaching threat. Implementation would be complex, with safeguards and limits on both sides, but the foundation was sound. When the time came for the final vote, Maya held her breath. The human consensus had been hard-fought but ultimately decisive. Survival through cooperation trumped isolationist fears. The Viridian Council, however, remained fractured. Trevik approached the podium after a tense deliberation. Throughout our history, the collective has survived by standing alone. We believed independence was strength. The High Counselor's gaze swept across the chamber. But isolation has cost us what Scout Keldra rediscovered on your world, the understanding that diversity creates resilience. Different perspectives yield solutions that homogeneity cannot conceive. The chamber was utterly silent as Trevik continued. The Council accepts the alliance. Not merely as necessity against the Korathi threat, but as an evolution of our civilization. We have much to learn from Earth, as you have from us. The room erupted in a mixture of relief and celebration. Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders, only to be replaced by the sobering reality of what lay ahead: years of integration, technological exchange, and preparation for a threat that would test both species to their limits. Keldra found her amid the commotion. You should be proud, Commander. Few humans have altered their species' destiny so profoundly. I just found an injured alien in my garden, Maya deflected. You're the one who risked everything. Perhaps it required both our actions. Keldra's expression grew serious. The Council has ruled on my status as well. Maya tensed. Despite everything Keldra had accomplished, her original crime of desertion remained unresolved. And? I am to serve as permanent liaison between our worlds. A smile played at the corners of Keldra's mouth. It seems my punishment is to remain exactly where I wish to be. Relief flooded through Maya. That's good. We need you here. There's more. Keldra led Maya to a quieter corner of the chamber. The genetic research has yielded results. The similarities between our species aren't coincidence, they're evidence of deliberate engineering by a civilization that predates both of ours. The architects Trevik mentioned? Keldra nodded. We may be pieces of the same puzzle, separated millions of years ago. Perhaps even designed to eventually find each other again. The implications were staggering. Do you think they knew about the Korathi? Created us to stand together against them? Perhaps. Or perhaps they simply understood that diversity itself is the greatest defense against extinction. Keldra gazed across the chamber where humans and Viridians cautiously began to intermingle. Either way, we now face the future as neither of our ancestors could have imagined, together. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Joint Command Center. Below, human and Viridian scientists worked side by side, developing defense systems against the still distant Korathi threat. The integration hadn't been without conflict, cultural misunderstandings, technological disparities, lingering suspicions on both sides, but progress continued steadily forward. Remarkable, isn't it? Keldra joined her at the viewport. Her position as liaison had evolved into something closer to ambassador, her unique understanding of both species proving invaluable. Sometimes I still can't believe it's real, Maya admitted. That stealing vegetables from my garden somehow led to this. Keldra laughed, a sound she had adopted from humans, along with many other mannerisms. The smallest actions often create the greatest changes. A notification appeared on the holographic display. The first joint human-Viridian deep space vessel was ready for its inaugural launch, a research mission to establish early warning outposts in preparation for the coming threat. They want us there for the ceremony, Maya noted, studying the message. Of course they do. Keldra's expression grew thoughtful. You know, in Viridian culture, we have a concept called ekron, the moment when separate paths converge to create something neither could achieve alone. We have something similar, Maya replied. Synergy. The whole becoming greater than the sum of its parts. Yes, exactly. Keldra gestured toward the bustling command center below. This is ekron. This is synergy. Not merely cooperation, but transformation. As they made their way to the launch ceremony, Maya reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. The universe had simultaneously become much larger and much smaller. Humanity had gone from believing itself alone to finding not only neighbors but distant relatives among the stars. The vessel itself was a testament to this new reality, Viridian technology melded with human ingenuity, creating something neither civilization could have built alone. As it prepared to journey into the depths of space, Maya felt a profound sense of both humility and pride. What do you think happens next? She asked Keldra as they watched the final preparations. The alien considered this, her iridescent skin shifting with emotion. I believe we continue to surprise each other. To challenge each other. To build something neither of our species imagined possible. She turned to Maya with unmistakable warmth. And when the Korathi finally arrive, they will find not two weakened civilizations, but one unified force with the strength of both. Maya nodded, feeling the truth of it in her core. What had begun with fear and suspicion, a desperate alien stealing food in the night, a cautious human making a choice to help rather than harm, had ignited something remarkable. Understanding. Trust. Alliance. Perhaps even, someday, friendship across the stars. The countdown commenced. Together, they watched as humanity and the Viridian collective took their first unified step into the cosmos, no longer alone, no longer enemies, but partners in whatever lay ahead. A new beginning, forged in the embers of understanding.